Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess, and in today's video we are going to be talking about crochet hooks, sizing, and how to pick the right hook for the yarn you're using. There are so many different types of yarn thickness, and they all have suggestions for different hook sizes, and you can go with those, or depending on the project you're working on, you may want to adjust, and I'm here to explain what you might want to think about when picking your hook. So let's jump right into the video. So yarn comes in all different sizes. We have all the way to the very bottom, we have our size 0 lace yarn. And all the way to the biggest, we have our size 7 jumbo yarn, which doesn't even fit in the frame. It's so big. So that just shows you the difference in yarn sizes and why it can be sometimes confusing about what hook we're going to use. So I'm going to go through each size of yarn that is currently available. I'm going to tell you what hook size is suggested, what hook size I would suggest depending on the project you're doing, so that hopefully you can make the right decision about what hook you want to use for your project. So we're going to start off with this crochet thread. This is an Aunt Lydia's crochet thread. This is just a metallic yarn I had on hand, and this is a size 0 lace. So most every label will have a label here that shows you what size the yarn is. So right here it's going to have a little ball of yarn, and underneath it's going to tell you what it is. So this is the lace yarn. This is the smallest yarn you can get that I know of. And this is how thin it is. Pretty thin. I don't personally use this very much. If I were to use this, it would be more for embroidery, but people do use this stuff for micro crocheting, which honestly blows my mind. I cannot do that. So kudos to those who do, but for me, no thank you. Also on the label here is going to be a little diagram of what hook size it suggests. So for this ball of yarn, for this lace, it's suggesting using a 1.5 millimeter crochet hook. Now I will say, I'm not exactly sure who decides what goes on these labels, if that's specific yarn companies or if there's like a table somewhere that people use, because sometimes you may find two size 3 yarns that have completely different suggested hook sizes, and that can be super confusing. It's also confusing because sometimes I'll pick up a size 3 yarn and I'll have a size 2 yarn, and sometimes the size 2 yarn looks bigger than the size 3 yarn. So it's confusing because is it a true 2? Because if you're working off of a pattern that calls for a size 2 yarn, you want to make sure you're using the right yarn. So this is our first one, size 0. This yarn is also called lace yarn. Now, I don't even have a 1.5 millimeter crochet hook this small because I don't crochet that small. However, I will tell you, depending on the project, you want to either lower or heighten your crochet hook size. So the smaller the crochet hook, the tighter your stitches will be. The bigger the crochet hook, the looser your stitches will be. So suggested is 1.5. If you're looking for a tighter crochet, such as in amigurumi, although this wouldn't be great amigurumi yarn, but if you were looking for a tighter stitch, I would suggest using a 0.75 to a 1 millimeter crochet hook. And if you're looking for bigger spaces in between your stitches using this yarn, I would suggest going up to a size 2 millimeter. Next up, we have our size 1. Now, this yarn is also called superfine or baby yarn. Again, they all kind of have different names. On this label here, it's suggesting we use a 3.5 millimeter to a 3.75 millimeter crochet hook. And this yarn is definitely a little bit thicker than our previous lace. Now, if we're going to be wanting tighter stitches using our size 1 yarn, I would suggest going down to a 1.5 or a 2 millimeter crochet hook. If you're looking for bigger spaces in between your stitches, I would suggest going up to a size 4. Obviously, these are just suggestions, so just work out what works best for you. A lot of the time, your pattern will have a swatch. I would suggest doing the swatch to see what gauge you are crocheting at, and you can downsize or upsize your hook accordingly. And then if you're looking for a specific look, like tighter or looser stitches, then you can play with it, but that would be my suggestion for the size 1 yarn. Now next up we have our size 2 yarn, and this is the rainbow cotton from Hobby. I'm not even sure if this is sold still. It's quite old, but this is a size 2 yarn, and I'm going to show you just so you can understand what I mean. So this here, this paint box cotton is also, or this one is, sorry, is a size 3. So this is a size 3 and this is a size 2. And this is the yarn. So the orange one is the size 2 and the white one is the size 3. To me, they almost look exactly the same. If anything, the size 2 looks bigger. And I find that super confusing, and you may be having this confusion as well. So honestly, for these 2 yarns, I would probably use similar hooks, but I will go through what the label suggests. So for our size 2 yarn, this yarn is also called fine yarn. It's also called baby or sport yarn. So as on the label here, this is suggesting a 3 to a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. So it's actually suggesting a smaller crochet hook versus our size 1, which suggested a 3.5 to 3.75. So again, that can be very confusing. So for this rainbow size 2 yarn, I would suggest, if you're looking for tighter stitches, I would downsize your hook to a 1.5 to 2 millimeter hook. And if you're looking for looser stitches, I would suggest going to a 4 to a 4.5. Now moving on, we already kind of looked at this yarn, but this is the paint box cotton yarn, and this is a size 3 yarn. Now size 3 yarn is also called a DK, which stands for double knit, and it can also be called light. Now this yarn, if you look here, suggests having a 4 millimeter crochet hook. Again, because the 2 and the 3, in my opinion, are so similar, the hook sizes are going to be similar. However, for downsizing or tightening your hooks on this one, I would suggest a 2 to 2.5 millimeter crochet hook. And on the high end, for looser stitches, I would suggest using a 4.5 to 5 millimeter crochet hook. All right, so moving on, we are now on our size 4 yarn, and I just have some Caron Simply Soft here. Now this is, it says right here, it's a 4, it's a medium weight yarn. It's also called worsted, Afghan, or Aran. And on the label here, it does suggest using a 5 millimeter crochet hook. If you're going to want tighter stitches for this yarn, I would suggest downsizing to about a 3.5 millimeter to 4. If you want to upsize, I would suggest a 5.5 millimeter to 6. All right, moving on. Next we have our Bernat Velvet, and this is a size 5 yarn. This yarn, it can be called bulky or chunky, doesn't really matter. It is, we're starting to get into that thicker yarn, and this is a velvety yarn. This yarn suggests using a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook. Now we're getting kind of into the area where amigurumi would kind of be made with this yarn. Personally, I only use fluffy yarn. You can use the smaller yarns, but this is what I use. 6.5 would be huge for this, for amigurumi. If I was making amigurumi with this, I would size down to a 5 millimeter crochet hook instead of a 6.5. Now, if I didn't care about spacing and I wanted bigger holes, maybe for a baby blanket or such, I would upsize maybe to a size 7. Or stick with the 6.5 that's suggested. Next up, we have my favorite, which is our size 6 super chunky or super bulky yarn, which is what it's called here. I use this mostly for amigurumi. It suggests using an 8 millimeter crochet hook. When I'm crocheting with this for amigurumi, I use a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, and I find that works really well for me to make sure that my stitches stay closed with no holes so that the stuffing doesn't come out of our project. So you could downsize to a 5.5 for this size 6 yarn. If you're wanting to upsize for bigger stitches, bigger spaces, you could go up as high as a 9mm, but personally I would stick around the 8 or like the 5.5 depending on what you're doing. All right, last but not least is our biggest yarn. This is our Honey Bunny Big from Hobby, and this is our size 7 yarn, and it is called Jumbo or Ultra is also can be called. Now this one suggests using a 12mm crochet hook. When I used this for one of my projects, I used a 8mm crochet hook. You could use an 8.5 or 9, even for downsizing your hook to make sure your stitches are smaller, but I used an 8 and found that worked really well. You just have to take more time because it is a big strand. If you're upsizing, you could go as high as a 13 or 14mm, but you could also just stay at the 12mm and it will work out perfectly. So those are our yarn types and what hook I would suggest for them. I hope this was helpful for you guys. Let us know in the comments what you thought. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. We always appreciate that. We hope you guys have a lovely day and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.